right, guys, welcome to another episode of Aussies Taking Over the NBA. We have a Cleveland wrap for you today. Deng, Adel, and Matthew Dellavedova wrapping things up. Obviously, the Cleveland Cavaliers, a.k.a. the Bongwater of the NBA.
As we so dub them.
Terrible season, hampered by some pretty bad injuries, some terrible moves, losing LeBron.
Yeah. The LeBron James suck zone, as I dubbed it.
Yeah, I have to say, though, not as bad as New York Knicks, but I think in amongst it, the Knicks have found a couple of decent pieces that they can build around, in Mitchell Robinson and a couple of other guys there that they picked up pretty cheaply late in the first, actually early in the second round for Mitchell Robinson, and some late in the first round with Kevin Knox and things like that. So we'll move on to Cleveland. Let's talk about Delhi. Obviously, this is his sixth season in the NBA now. Sixth?
Experience. 5 years. 5 years. So I think this was his sixth year.
Yeah, this was his sixth year.
Started off at the Bucks.
Injury prone last year. Still a bit injured this year with the Bucks. Couple of early injuries. In a team where completely different setup to the year before. Coach Bud coming in, just wiping the floor clean and changing things around like nothing we have ever seen. I think the NBA's really ever seen.
Yeah. I think that's one of the big craziest turnarounds for a franchise.
Yeah.
From 7th seed to 1st seed. I think it was 44 wins to 60 is at first, the amount of wins.
Without even signing a superstar.
Nah, well, they kind of had Giannis.
They had, but they hadn't signed anyone different from.
Right,
I mean, they signed Brook Lopez, but he'd never shot a 3-point.
Yeah, that's true. And I was kind of thinking today. I was looking at the Bucks when we watched them play the Pistons. Just how fresh some of these athletes look that are on the Bucks. Lopez looks leaner and fitter. Yeah. Even Mirotic, I was like, Mirotic looks lean and svelte. What the hell's going on there? So they've got some sort of athletic program going on there as well. Coach Bud's come in and changed their entire athletic program. Some of these guys look really, really good. It's just a shame that, Delhi and obviously Thon Maker as well had to make way for some other guys. Delhi, he was traded for Mirotic, I believe.
Yeah, he was traded. Yeah, in the Mirotic trade, it was a 3-way team trade.
Yeah,
with the Cavs and the Pelicans. But they wanted to get Delhi's contract off the books. They wanted to get a lot of.
Plus, if it was more of a fit for Delhi too. I'm going back to the Cavs. Cool. I'm cool with that. That's fine.
Yeah, that was he wanted to. I think it was a bit of a homecoming, and the Cavs really embraced him coming back as well. Yeah, for sure. And you know what? When he played for the Cavs, man, he played really well.
Yeah.
He won some games, had some really good outings, shot the ball quite well, at a pretty good clip. Almost highest points per game in his career, playing 19 minutes. So efficiency going up. We'll run through some of his stats. 41.3% field goal percentage, 33% from the 3-ball line. Had some dish city games. Assists 4.2 assists per game, 0.3 steals, 0.1 blocks, 1.6 turnovers. So not a bad ratio. It's about a 3-to-1 or 2.8-to-1. 7.3 points per game. So in the end, good homecoming. Obviously playing back up to Colin Sexton, who was 7th in last year's draft. And
a little mentor type role there too. For
a little mentor type role. I mean, I kind of picked Sexton as the dark horse of the draft and thought he could have been a rookie of the year.
Yeah.
But little did we know, obviously, of the Doncic effect, and little do we know of the Trae Young.
Yeah, the end of his season turned out really good. Even Ayton and Bagley were pretty good. Good top 5 draft round, and then you've kind of got turd. Yeah.
And to hit Landry Shamet. And I think Shamet's probably the most underrated draft pick of that round, deep into the first round.
And then even Kurucs for the Nets, where I've done a little bit of a deep dive on him, because if you look at Jacob Evans for the Warriors, they took him, I think, at 29, and then Kurucs, I think, was at 33 or 34. I think Kurucs was really the only one in there as a big man that you would have gone, yep, I'll take that guy. But some of the other big men are
Mitchell Robinson, 33 at the Knicks.
Yeah, okay, yeah, there's another
blocks,
one.
like 124 blocks in no time at all. Like,
wow.
just a body of block ability and timing. Great. So really good pickup by the Knicks and has played, and that's why they got rid of Cantor, and DeAndre Jordan hasn't been playing much either. They've really invested in that guy.
Who do they have at 10 or 11? Knox?
Yeah, Kevin Knox.
Yeah.
He's been all right. He's been up and down. Shot percentage is a bit...
The big thing for the Cavs really though this season was LeBron leaving.
Well, the vacuum, the vortex. You know what happened last time LeBron left? They won 19 games. What happened LeBron left this time? They won 19 games. So it was the LeBron vortex. It was the J.R. Smith win saga.
That was... He threw a bowl of soup at someone or something, apparently.
Really?
Yeah, he should look into that. Yeah, apparently threw a bowl of soup at someone. But I think... And then Tyronn Lue obviously getting fired 6 games into the season. It was... Are we tanking? Well, we're going to try. No, we're tanking. Like 6 games in, they just kind of eject us.
It was the Kevin Love injury. They're kind of like, pull it up. We are Tank City.
But they made a few trades sort of in the middle of the season.
They got rid of a lot of cap space. They got rid of George Hill, which was the most... And he's playing quite well.
Your mate, George Hill.
You know, I give that guy crap, but he's actually playing pretty well in the Bucks system. So it just shows you play well, you get a good coach at a good system, and it elevates your game, because he was trash at Cleveland. So they got rid of George Hill. They got rid of some other cap space in there.
Rodney Hood,
which is quite a large amount of cap space. And then they just kind of went by. They picked out a good win against Philly early on in the year.
Kyle Korver left as well.
Kyle Korver was another one. He was on about $8 million a year, traded to the Jazz.
And then Alec Burks.
Yeah, he was traded to Portland and then waived by everyone.
Yeah, I think he's at Saki Kings at the moment, and I'm just going through it. Henson obviously came over in that Delhi trade.
Yeah.
And then you look for a bit further, Stauskas, Wade Baldwin. Not much there. Brandon Knight and Marquise Chris.
Some G League alumni.
Just, really, really kind of sideways moves that were about just, refreshing the...
Well, it's short-term roster fillers, really. It's just like, we're really not going to invest in these guys. We'll bring them in as a bit of short-term roster filler. I mean, sometimes the Cleveland was absolute trash. They put a couple of stretch there when Kevin Love was nice and healthy and fit, and then he really got injured again. They're like, all right, just rest him for the rest of the season.
Tristan Thompson missed fair few games this season.
Yeah.
But I had said, a lot of those guys there are kind of nearly build the franchise around them guys. Sexton, obviously the lowest rung is Sexton because he's the rookie. Yeah. You can't just go, we're going all in straight away, because it wasn't there yet. It's not a generational talent like Doncic or something like that.
I think he's a good scoring point guard.
Yeah, and he's only 19 as well.
But he's not a center floor point guard.
Yeah, for sure. He's just kind of a scoring guy. And the perfect framework for him, just go, fuck it. If we're winning 19 games, I'm just going to go ham. I don't care. And that makes sense for a young guy. That's the perfect scenario for a 19-year-old guy to come into as a point guard, team where the ass falls out of him, and you just, whatever, I'll just ball out, and, my stock will rise. Then you got guys like Jordan Clarkson. You kind of, that's the same thing, but he's 6 years older.
Yeah, he's like the Lou Williams of the bench roster. I think he's got the highest off the bench efficiency under Lou Williams. So,
and then that's another guy you kind of like got to jam in there. And really, if he wasn't on the team, it wouldn't matter. Like, it'd just be like,
Well, unlike Lou Williams, who adds something to a team that's making the playoff run, and he's good. Clarkson's just like, it's 20 points a night, but 20 points for what reason? Why are you here? Like, that's It's like, what are you doing here? You're not starting. You're just coming off the bench and scoring 20 a night. It has no purpose in this rebuild, really.
And you're a guy that needs the team built around you if you're going to be the guy who's the floor general and you need to play 35 minutes a night. And it's like, are you good enough? No, you're not really good enough.
Yeah.
But then obviously Deng Adel, they did sign Deng Adel. They did down sign the stretch of the season,
and this was again a bit of all right. He's had a really good season for the Raptors 905 in the G League. We can sign him on a two-way, get Canton charge, a bit of extra depth, and he played a few games for Cleveland. It was
around those trades. He kind of found himself started 2 games,
2 or 3 games. Stats not great. We were having a conversation about this off air. Yeah. Shooting at 30%, 26% 3-point percentage, pretty low efficiency. He really needs to cook in the G League for like 2 more years. I think that there's talent there. As a swingman playing in the small forward position, but he needs to cook.
Yeah, definitely. Needs to
cook
simmer for a couple of years.
Yeah, and he will be there. He will get up there. I think that they recognise that there's some talent in this young man, and he.
Well, I think they looked at him and said, "This is a talented kid," because the way they kind of just like when Chetty Osman got injured, they kind of just threw him in there and just like, you see what you can do, and you don't get that unless you have something that the franchise can go, well, let's see what this guy can do. You know, he had a little bit of a platform, a bit disappointing, and it's kind of sucks for him that he didn't take that opportunity. But you know, it's an experience that you have to have.
Watching some of the games, he would just stand in the corner and Colin Sexton just play ISO ball for 20 minutes, and then you're just like, well,
fighting for the ball with like Clarkson, and then you know Larry Nance wants touches in the post, and you're just kind of like, the whole thing was a bit of a mess. Larry Drew, obviously, I think he's left as well. I think so. Tyronn Lue was fired, and then Larry Drew, obviously 19-57, his record. I think he's left as well. They were like their stats. You look at this, they're the worst defensive rating, second last in pace, second last in points per game, 24th out of 30 in opposition points per game. So defense not too bad. Offensive rating was 25th out of 30. You know, like it's
trash.
It's hard. It's hard when you're coming into one of those teams to put your hand up and go, I'm going to just make something happen here, guys, because the whole framework that you're trying to play in is just a mess. And if the coaches are going, stand in the corner and shoot threes, and you're standing there and you're going, no one's driving, bro. Like, what the hell do? I stand in the corner because you tell me to do it, but I don't never get the ball. So, but if you're a player and you kind of break from that, then what happens? Like, the coach goes, stand in the corner. That's what I'm telling you to do. Like, and I think he showed, like in the summer league, he showed enough. Like, oh, okay, you can handle the ball. That's not bad. Yeah. Off the, like, if you're standing at the 11 o'clock spot, he can drive off the dribble. Not bad. Like, not enough to go, all right, give that guy the ball and let's see what he can do. But enough to just go. Okay,
in the G League, though, that's definitely a plan and play, and there's nothing wrong with him taking a couple of years.
Oh, for sure.
To play 50 games a season. That's the different thing between the G League and Europe. Europe, you kind of play 40, but the G League, you play a lot of games. Play a lot of games in G League, which means you've got more opportunity. You're around teams, especially if you're on your two-way. You're around teams skirmishing with the guys up playing for Cleveland or whatever. So it'd be good if you could stay with Canton Charge.
Do you have his G League numbers? We should probably talk about his G League numbers.
I did have it on the old G League app, but that app died for some reason. It just
on my phone. I just kept closing. What a mess.
So it was great. It was a great app, and then.
But he. You know, like, look, he played for Houston in the summer league and had a couple of games where I think he had like an awesome dunk and then a mad like little stop and pop in the lane, like some nice highlight plays. But if you've also got to think about if he then his next career move doesn't get a contract and he just goes back to the G League, like you've got to then like go against the tide of, oh shit, like you've got to hang on and try not to just be swept out of the league completely into obscurity. Like once you've got the two-way, you kind of got to just grab onto it with both hands for the fear of getting swept out of the league by other guys coming in, you're not getting picked up on a deal. Like it happened to Mango Mathiang, same sort of thing, where he played in the G League, looked really good, and then Charlotte was just like, waived. And now, he's playing in Europe and doing really well in Europe. But it just shows you how slim those margins are to get into the actual league itself and stay there.
I've got his G League stats up here. 31 minutes a game, played 37 games this season, started in 36, 12.7 points per game, field goal percentage 43%, 3-point percentage a bit low, 31.5%, free throw 77%, rebounds 5.5, 2.5 assists, half a steal, half a block, 2 turnovers, and 1.5 fouls per game.
And defense is somewhere where we both
always
identified.
Said, we both identified that, he needed to increase his lateral movement and probably a little bit of smarts around how to defend. But again, that's someone that needs to cook. And you're right, the G League is one of those interesting things is that you're going to get almost 100 players now coming to the G League this year alone. And so you don't want to be that guy that gets turfed and then has to go play in Europe or come back and play in Australia. Which seems to be the NBA is actually not too bad. Terrence Ferguson, Torrey Craig, these are all ex-NBL alumni. Andrew Bogut obviously getting picked up and taken back to the Warriors. And,
his situation's a bit more unique.
A little bit more unique, but they're not looking at the NBL. And that's the thing. Like, it's okay to come back to this league and launch a platform to go and play in the summer league and so forth. And I
At
think
21 too, it's important.
Yeah.
But as well as you just think about how many of actual domestic Americans are in the same situation where they're clawing their balls off to try and get a deal. And this guy actually got a deal and, made it to the NBA, actually played games in the NBA.
Yeah.
He's now got to think about this, like maintaining his grip on that by trying to get in, like stay on this Cleveland franchise with a guaranteed deal. I'm not sure. I haven't heard anything about any of that stuff.
It was only a rest of season 2A guarantee.
So he might get waived. We're not quite sure what might happen to him.
Contract will end. I hope to see him in the summer league again. I think that'll be really good, and hopefully for Kent
we've got some good NBL guys that might go and play in the summer league. Guys like Froling and someone else that I just completely escaped my mind. I was just thinking about before. Back. Yeah, Emmett Nah might play in there. Yeah, he played there last year. He got a few minutes. Who did he play? End up playing
Phoenix Suns. I think got 3 minutes.
3 minutes, and I think he was like a -8 or something like that in his 3 minutes and did nothing.
Yeah.
Daniel Greeder might go and play over there, but again, like there's a difference between the spectacle and the cold hard truth of I'm an NBA player trying to make it in this league. And, we analyze the league as a whole and just how well established the stars are. But it's you guys like Deng, Adel, where they're at risk of a bunch of people came in and now suddenly the room is filled with 15 people and you're at the back of the room, and it's very easy for you to just be swept out the door and we never see him again. But, if we see him down under or if we see him in Europe, like Jock Landale, obviously he's really good. And then Isaac Humphries played in Europe before he came over to Atlanta to play in the G League. And then obviously he played those games down the end of that season, this season just gone. I hope he doesn't just get
fall
swept
by the
out.
wayside. Yeah, no, I think a couple of more years cooking in the G League would be do him the world of good.
And then he's established now. So if he did make that decision, I'm just going to go and play in the G League for a couple more seasons. Because I was watching the Long Island Nets and the Rapids. I think the Grand Rapids or whoever.
Gran Torino Rapids?
Yeah, something like that. And it's kind of like Summer League, really.
Yeah.
It's not... I didn't watch that and go, wow, this is quite a high standard of basketball. I watched it and it's kind of like, wow, this is kind of like Summer League. It's just a bit of a mess and it's not the highest standard I think I've ever seen. You know what I mean? Like you watch the NBA and you watch the G League, you're kind of like, okay, I can really see the difference.
Of course. But it's like watching the NBL and watching the G League. It's like watching European basketball and watching, the NBL, I mean, FIBA rules. And the weird thing about the G League is it's NBA rules. But they're all vying to be like heroes, if that makes sense.
Yeah.
Like I'm going to take my time to make this shot.
Mm-hmm.
It's a lot of one-on-one. It's not like the European leagues or the NBL where it's FIBA rules. You really have to be extremely tactical because they're just going to camp in the lane and you're not going to shoot. And then you're putting out weird jump shots and it's crap. And then 3-point line, they're going to run you off because
it's a totally different style. It's almost like it's an encapsulated lower level league, the G League, which has its own limitations and has its own boundaries. Like if you put it alongside the NBA, you can see like the talent differential and the scheme differential and the teams themselves. There's a differential there, so it just makes it harder for coaches and staff to go, right, I want this guy on this team doing this sort of thing. But at the same time, it also narrows the way they pick guys as well. Yeah, and these teams being, they have a guy, they have a team where they can go, we'll evaluate these guys, and if we can bring them into our setup, like that's important for that sort of stuff as well. And obviously, Deng and Deng in the two-way worked out really well for him. Guys like Mitch Creek and Humphreys as well, doing really well.
Yeah, I think Mitch Creek is ready.
Yeah, I think he's the one that probably should sign a deal. It was the first one of those three that should sign a deal.
At least a two-way contract, a season-based two-way contract. That's... maybe you play a lot of your time in the G League, but it's a season 2A contract. Yeah. Not a G League deal.
I'd like to see him sign a guaranteed deal with someone, but it'll just be who really, what team goes in on a player like that.
Yeah, what team goes in kind of on a 6'6" power forward? Because really he's kind of this big body that is not really that tall, but yet somehow gets into the paint and scores, but doesn't really have an outside game. So it's kind of like weird.
Yeah.
Weird, but efficient. Very efficient. Anyway,
Yeah, and then obviously Matthew Dellavedova had that concussion, we should say.
Yeah, concussion, just wanted to stay out of things down the stretch, get himself better. Obviously a little bit tough coming back from that.
Hopefully he's back next year. He's got one more year left on his deal, I think.
This is his third and final year on that deal. But I see him staying for the rebuild, to be completely honest with you, with Cleveland. There's no reason why you would go out and sign a backup point guard and sign, if you're kind of half in on Sexton, you kind of want Sexton to stay. Why would you go and draft another point guard when you've got an experienced guy there that can, take the team forward? And he's a bit of a son in Cleveland as well. So he's probably going to be on a $5 million deal or something like that.
Yeah, like a vet minimum or something like that. They can wrangle something like that. He's the sort of guy, I reckon, who could, has a transitional outlook on the rest of his career. It's not a guy who's like, I want to be paid to play basketball.
He kind of got his contract from the Bucks. That was his career contract.
Yeah.
Obviously out of the year he had with Cleveland and them winning it. That was his like, all right, sweet, I've captured that and now I've got my deal. But now it's just about career longevity and staying in the NBA as long as you can. And at some point, hopefully coming back to the NBL. It'd be great to have him back. All right, shall we wrap this up?
Yes.
All right, peeps. Remember to like, share, and subscribe. You can find us on all major iTunes, Podcast Addict, all those things. Like us on Facebook, and we will be back very shortly, wrapping up probably halfway through the playoffs.
Yeah, we've got more playoffs. We're going to do over-under, revisit NBA awards. We'll probably do that next week. And I dare say we'll be saying goodbye to Detroit at some stage.
Yeah,
poor old Detroit. They got hammered, didn't they?
Absolutely crushed. No Blake Griffin, but still absolutely crushed.
So hopefully, we'll just keep pumping out the content and keep listening and like, share, and subscribe, and give us a rating and review too, 5-star if you can on iTunes.
5-star rating.
That'll really help us get out there and hopefully, get us a few more ears.
All right, guys.
All right, take it easy.
Bye.